Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp.com, and I've been with them for a long time. BetterHelp is an online platform where we found that you can effectively communicate with your therapist. Now, you begin by filling out a questionnaire, and then you'll be matched with a therapist within a couple of days. And if that match isn't ideal for you, you can certainly make an adjustment there. Now, you're going to be encouraged to journal, and also they have the availability for group therapy on a wide array of topics, and I really like that. So as the need exists, go ahead and take the necessary steps to get the help that you need. And just know that BetterHelp has a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, so it indeed is a platform you can trust. There's a link below the video that will take you there. Hi, Team Healthy. Glad to be here with you on yet another of our episodes of Unbound. Keep in mind that the Unbound series is all about you, and you have sent me questions and comments regarding all sorts of topics, and I really appreciate that because it lets me know where you're coming from, and I can speak more directly into it. And during these episodes, I'm going to go through some of the questions and comments that you do, and I try to put them in a bit of an organized kind of style here. Today, we're going to be talking about a theme that I know that so many of you have run across, and that is you can be on the receiving end of the narcissist criticism, and boy, can they dish it out. They have no difficulty trying to tell you what's wrong with you. They can rage at you. They can have all sorts of agitation and condescension toward you. But if you give the hint, just a hint of saying, hey, wait a minute, there's something that you might want to look at on the inside of yourself, they fall apart. They can dish it out, but boy, they cannot receive it on their end of it. And we can call that double standards. But there's another word that I want you to hold on to in your mind as I'm going through these questions and comments here today. And as we talk about how narcissists will dish out all sorts of disregard toward you, but they can't receive it, the word I'm wanting you to hold on to is the word cowardice. Narcissists are cowards. They love nothing more than to pick a fight with someone and try to establish the rules where they're going to be the obvious winner. And then when you come along and say, I don't want to play by your rules, then they fall apart. And when they fall apart, it comes out as great anger when in fact there's a whole lot more going on behind the scenes than they want you to really know about, or that they're even willing to admit within themselves. So with that in mind, let's dive in with what we have here today. The first person writes in, my brother is a bullying bigot who is not at all bashful about insulting anyone who doesn't think exactly like him. I finally got up the courage to confront him about his anger and criticism, and he went into a full rage, spewing all sorts of insults at me, going back to years-old grudges. It was awful. My question is, do most narcissists hold on to grudges like this? He seems like such an unhappy person. Now, I want you to pick up on certain key words here that this person wrote in here, and we're going to see that he or she is describing quintessential narcissism. First, the person uses the word bullying. Next, bigot. And I have no idea, of course, what that person did to prompt this writer to use that word, but that's not a very flattering word whatsoever. Not at all bashful about insulting. And then people who don't think exactly like him. They have to have everything inside their grooves, and they're very willing to be condescending. That's that false superiority. And then they use the word full rage. It's not just anger. You've heard me say before that there are plenty of times when you can feel angry, and it may have a legitimate cause or reason to it. But when you go into this full rage, it's like, no, I'm not going to just stand up for what I believe is wisest and best. I want to destroy you. And then we go back and got the word insults again, years old grudges, and holding on to them being awful. Those are words that describe what's going on inside the narcissist. This is the reason why guys like me or people in my profession will use the word chaos as well when we talk about the narcissist. They carry a lot of chaos on the inside of themselves. And they clearly don't know how to manage life well, as evidenced by the fact that they initiate these kinds of negative kinds of communications toward you. But then you see that's part of the cowardice. Rather than them saying, man, take a look at this. I've got a whole lot of things that I need to work on just in this one little paragraph. There's so many things about me that I need to take a good examination of. They can't do that. They're too afraid to admit that because they fear that they're going to lose power. They fear they're going to lose any kind of prestige, as if insulting people is a prestigious kind of thing. And it doesn't even dawn on them to say, I'd like to know about you. I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to know what makes you tick. I'd like to know what you feel and what you think. And if there's a difference between you and me, let's discuss it. That does not even cross their minds. That's what I mean when I say they have a cowardice, in the sense that it's like, no, I'm going to be so overwhelming that I'm afraid of hearing anything from you because it might not be flattering and it might not keep me in the high and lofty position that I want to be in. Okay, let's go on to the next person. This person just asked a very simple question, and that is, why do narcissists get mad at you for calling out their bad behavior? And again, the narcissist can dish it out. It's like they call you out all day long with that harsh criticism and ongoing agitation. But you see, part of their what they're protecting is they're protecting you knowing the truth about who they are. All right, focus on that word truth. Honesty is another word that goes in the same category as truth. When you say, let's be honest, let's be truthful about what you bring to the equation. You screamed at me, or you were very rude to me, or you promised to do something and you deliberately chose not to, or you were saying ugly things about me behind my back, whatever it is that you're trying to call them out on. The narcissist thinks, truth doesn't work for me. I don't do honesty. And let's keep in mind that when we talk about the false self, the narcissist, we're talking about a person who's constructed a false self. I want you to hear those kind of terms, not in abstract terms, but in real life descriptions. It's like I've got to portray myself as much stronger and much more confident than I really am. And when you say, so why don't you give honesty a try? Why don't you give truth a try? Then in their minds, they're thinking, well, what you're asking me to do is give up my superpower. Lying is my superpower. Being dominant and being insulting, that's my superpower. That's how I become a real somebody. And when you put it in words like that, it sounds so silly. And yet, there it is. And again, that's part of their cowardice. They would rather say, well, I'm going to portray myself as this blustery, certain, on top of it all kind of an individual, when in fact, all of this is coming from a strong and deep and long-standing source of inadequacy. They're afraid of letting go of anything that appears powerful. And so that's why they come at you with such ferocity when you say, "Hey, knock it off! Your criticism doesn't work. Your harshness is offensive. Let's stop that. Quit it. I don't want it." And they're too insecure to say, I would certainly not like anyone to speak that way toward me. Therefore, I can appreciate the same in reverse toward you. There's no logic. There's no common sense. And again, this is part of their internal disarray. Now, we have another person that writes in. And this person says, what does it mean when you've tried to talk to a partner and they would constantly dismiss what you say and turn it around on you and make it into a loud fight that they know that you couldn't win? Now, one thing that narcissists pride themselves in is they don't lose fights, they win. Okay, so you can knock out somebody and just insult them and reduce them to tears or make them look foolish, and you can walk away thinking, man, I've got some serious significance going on here. I'm really good at this. What we can see is when the narcissist comes at you with this compensating form of anger, Anger is directly tied to your sense of self-preservation. They're trying to preserve something on the inside of themselves. But basically it's more than just that. They're trying to compensate for what they really don't have. It's a mock self-preservation. They don't have internal peace. They don't have internal calmness or steadiness. They don't have logic. They don't have a sense of teamwork. They don't have feelings of heart connection. They don't have confidence. There's a lot of don'ts on the inside, and so what they do is they can act blustery on the outside, and it's like, well, that proves a whole lot. I think it really does, but not what they think it does. When the narcissist shouts and screams and they can't receive your feedback and they just turn arguments into a one-way street where they verbally want to pummel you, what you're dealing with is a profoundly, and I can't say this strongly enough, a profoundly insecure person who is living in cowardice. Rather than saying, I need to go ahead and accept my station as a regular human being and join the rest of the world out there and saying, we need each other. As we see one another's strains or difficulties, in love, we can talk with each other about how we can improve, and it's a two-way street. And as we share our humanity, we can grow. And by the way, intimacy and closeness is built upon knowing the negatives about one another and saying, well, I'm going to love you and I'm going to work with you in the midst of that, just as I would hope you would do the same with me. That's when you have true intimacy, and that's when you have true bonding and closeness, not by pounding someone into the ground or just sharing pleasant times with them. And anybody can have a good time with that. Narcissists are in disarray. It goes way back into their deep background, where they learn very early on that exposing your ailments or your frailties is going to get you in trouble, and they don't want to get in trouble. And so they haven't grown past a very pre-adolescent kind of thinking. You're not dealing with an individual who has an adult mind intact. You're dealing with a little child who's scared and who's throwing a temper tantrum. And the difference between a child and let's say a 48-year-old man doing this is the child has some hope. When you've got decades of doing this, then it just kind of reduces any kind of hopefulness, and it sends the message to anybody who's trying to deal with them, you're going to have to get away unless they're barring some sort of miracle and individualize your own growth separate from them. Pretty pitiable, isn't it? It's cowardice. Okay, guys, thank you for those of you who sent these questions and comments in. If you have any of your own that you want to send in on any kind of topic, put them in there, and I try to couple them, as you can see, with other questions of a similar nature. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so. We're going to keep more videos coming towards you. I truly appreciate you allowing me to be on your journey with you, and I say that with a lot of sincerity. I'm getting old. I'm in my early 70s now, and I'm looking back over my career thinking what a privilege it is that I get to talk with people about in the ways that I do. So thank you for allowing me to do that. I really mean it. Now, I know that some of you might need some therapy and you don't know where to turn. I've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com. It's an online therapy resource. And so if you have the need, we have a link below that will take you to their website, answer a few questions. You get to select a person you could work with. If the situation warrants it, invest in yourself and get the help that you would need. Now, I would also invite you to go to my website. And on my website, we have lots of resources there. Primary among them, we have my courses. They're very extensive. I put a whole lot of work into those. Each course has a minimum of 25 teaching videos. Each video has handouts and guided questions, and I'm pretty organized, and it systematically walks you through how to work through various kind of topics on anger, on boundaries, on finding yourself despite the controller, on the healthy connections. We have those kind of courses, along with my webinars, which are 90-minute PowerPoint presentations, my articles, my books. We have a lot of resources there, and I hope that you find them to be useful. Narcissists who can dish it out, but they can't take it, are a little more than cowards. They're in chaos. They're in turmoil on the inside. They won't admit it. They can't see it, but I hope you can see straight through it, and you can stay out of the crosshairs there. And as you sidestep and zero in on your better alternatives, that's when you're going to be the kind of person that says, I'm seeking peace and I want to find it despite their inability to do so.